So I'll bet you're often asked this question, and the concept of an elevator pitch, not everybody understands where that came from. It's this idea that you're on an elevator with a prospective client, and you're going from the 20th floor to the ground floor, and so you've got that short period of time to answer the question, oh, so I've heard of you guys, what do you do? And you've got the 20-floor ride to give a interesting, differentiating, fascinating, pithy, memorable answer to that question, your elevator pitch. How many here in the audience have, in your mind, at least mentally, an elevator pitch that you could do what I just described? Raise your hands. All right, you're being pretty modest, which is okay. It's a tough question to describe in a single sentence. It's like the Thomas Jefferson quote, "I would have sent a shorter letter, but I didn't have time." It's easy to write something long and wordy, but very difficult to do it in a concise way. So what I'd like to do is just show you a couple examples of law firm positioning strategy, or at least their best attempts at it, and see what you think of it. These are pictures that I snapped on my travels at the many airports I visit during the course of the year. These are American firms, and just kind of picked them out at random. So here we have Midwest Value, world-class service. Successfully navigate today's important business issues, delivering high-quality, cost-effective legal solutions expertly matched to your unique needs. What do you think of that as a positioning strategy? Could we, and I don't mean to pick on these guys, I don't really know them, but could we cover their logo and put in some other firm, and it would work just as well, wouldn't it? How about this? This a little more provocative. Matisse, Kandinsky, and Cezanne, world-class painters who studied law. That's pretty interesting. But the copy goes on to talk about full service, 140 attorneys nationwide, custom approach to client business. Doesn't really pay off this idea of creativity in law. Deep roots in law. So if you look at each of these roots, it's a different practice area or sector, and established 1846. What do you think of these attempts at positioning strategy? I don't really expect you to answer. It's a large, dark audience or room. We will be able to take some Q&A hopefully at the end. We have a roving mic. But these don't really pass that test, do they, that we described for the elevator pitch? A concise, differentiating, memorable description of what it is you do and how you create value for your clients. This is a very, very important question because it's been widely studied. One of the most far-reaching studies ever on business management practices done and published by the Harvard Business School shows that of all the 200 factors studied, all the things that you do and when you go to work every day that you're concerned with, there's really only one of those 200 factors that has a direct causal relationship to superior business performance. Can you guess what it is? A clearly stated focus strategy. Of the 200, that's the only one that has a direct one-to-one relationship with superior business performance. So this is a very, very essential question for you and your colleagues in your firms. What is strategy? What is good strategy and what is bad strategy? This is one of the most misused, misunderstood terms, I think, in business. It's like the judge who attempted to define pornography and couldn't really come up with a good definition other than I know it when I see it. And that, I think, is often true of strategy. It's hard to define what it is, but when you see a good one, you think, wow, that's brilliant. Right? Have you had that experience? Well, let's look at this attempt at strategy. So this is, we will be the law firm of choice in our region, delight clients with unique, effective solutions to their problems, grow revenue by 20%, margin by 20, culture commitment, honest and open work environment, support broader community in which we operate. Some of those might look familiar. Is that a strategy? It's published with the heading, Our Strategy, so it's obviously intended to be a strategy, but what is it really? That's one of the cardinal mistakes of strategic planning, is mistaking goals for strategy. A set of goals might be ambitious and motivating and important, but it's not a strategy, is it? You might have one of these. Notice it's a pretty big, thick document. It's bound, so it looks pretty official. It's got tab dividers. Probably weighs a fair amount. Pretty impressive. Got the thud factor when you slap it on the desk. But it may not be a strategy. It might be just a set of steps and goals and aspirations and plans and spreadsheets and key initiatives. Those are all important, but none of those really constitute a strategy. What is a strategy? Well, a business plan, like the one we just looked at, is really about taking steps, isn't it? It's about what to include. It's financial forecasting, and it's generally execution plans as to how we're going to get from A to B. But what is a strategy? Unlike taking steps, a strategy is about making choices, about what not to include. It's about forecasting the future. It's not about reporting on the past. And so a business plan is rewarded by being long and maybe detailed and complex and having tab dividers. A good strategy is going to fit on one side of one sheet of paper. Then you know you've got a good strategy because you have exercised deliberate choice in deciding what to leave out. Lots of things we could leave in. This is A.J. Lafley, who was former CEO of Procter & Gamble for many years. Brilliant guy, and authored this book that you see, Playing to Win, which is definitely worth a read on this topic. He says strategy is a set of choices about how to win. A set of choices, meaning what to do, but more importantly, what not to do. And this is a company that really walks its talk. You may know P&G is the world's largest marketer. They spend more money than any other organization on the planet in marketing, and arguably created modern brand management. They're very good at what they do. They know what they're doing. And they recently, a couple summers ago, decided to divest half of their brands. Of the 150 Procter & Gamble brands around the world, they decided they're going to get rid of half of them. They're going to cut it down to 75 because they want to focus on fewer things that they can do better. They also discovered that 80% of their revenue came from these 75 brands, and almost 90% of their profit. And that would be true of every firm here today. Of the list of sectors and practice areas and competencies that you list on your website and that you talk about in new business presentations, there's just a handful of those that are actually that essential and that critical and that profitable to your business. I like this definition even better. This is Michael Porter, almost the father of modern strategy, Harvard Business School, who says the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. What not to do. It's easy to choose what to do. It's easy to construct that long bullet point list of, well, we want to do this and this and this and this and this, and turn the page and continued. But to say, here are the things we're not going to do. Here are the services we're going to discontinue or that we're not going to focus on. Here are the sectors that we're not going to claim expertise in. That's tough, isn't it? That's difficult. It's been said that the essence of strategy is sacrifice. The essence of strategy is sacrifice. But sacrifice in a good way. In a good way. for the right reasons, because it's going to make your business actually more effective. You could frame this idea of choices, strategic choices, as trade-offs. You can do this, but not this. You can do more of this, but by definition it means you'll have to do less of that. And these are tough decisions. And they're the kinds of decisions that most businesses don't want to make, like this one. I wouldn't imagine they have spectacular Asian food and great Asian food and really good barbecue, right? I mean, it'd be hard to be excellent in all of these things. And it's hard to make those trade-offs. This is a really good demonstration of what I'm talking about. This is a strategy map. The red line is Walmart. And down the left-hand side, you can see customer purchase criteria, starting with low prices, where Walmart is fantastic. Nobody beats Walmart at low prices. Selection across categories, excellent. Rural convenience, very good. Reliable prices, sure. In-stock merchandise, kind of average. And by the time we get down to ambiance and sales help, they're in the poor territory. Now, do you think that this is by default or by design for Walmart? Yeah, by design. This isn't Walmart not trying hard enough, is it? It's like, come on, Walmart, can't you have low prices and great looking stores and really great sales help? Well, no, actually you can't. Those two things are in economic conflict, aren't they? If you want low prices, by definition, you have to sacrifice the richly appointed stores and the salesperson on every aisle. Those are the trade-offs that you make to define a business strategy. In professional services especially, and this has been studied, we're particularly unwilling and sometimes unable to make these trade-offs. We somehow have the illusion that we're different and we're special, and that for us, everything's got to be in that excellent column, right? We've got to be excellent at everything. Well, the pursuit of excellence is a great ideal, and we certainly do want to be excellent at everything we undertake, but we can't be excellent at everything, especially if you're a firm of 30 people. It's pretty hard to be outstanding at literally everything. So when we do this, and I could put up lots of different lists that look just like this, it really strains believability and credulity on the part of our clients and prospects to create the expectation that we can do all of these things consistently well, as though we could draw a straight line on that strategy map. This is a really interesting way to think about it. This is the interrelationship between the degree to which your firm is focused in particular areas of excellence and the size and quality of the kind of clients you want to serve. These things are interrelated, but they have an inverse relationship. If you look at on the far left, client size, because we all want, I think, the larger clients. They're more sophisticated, they have more money, more prestige, they look better on our client list, so we want those kinds of clients. But if you look at the way that correlates with the degree to which your firm is focused, they really work in different directions, because the firms that are very broad, the so-called full-service generalist firms that say we offer a wide range of service in a wide range of sectors, we have a wide range of practices, kind of the everything under the sun strategy. Well, what kind of client wants that? It's the smaller regional kinds of companies, the ones that lack the budgets and the sophistication. It's the idea of a country doctor. It does a little bit of everything, right? So it's a local generalist. On the other hand, what do the large clients want? This has been widely studied in all professional service sectors, and the answer is they want best in class. They want best in breed. They understand that the world is a complex place and that they want to hire the expertise in particular areas that are going to solve the complex problems that they face in their business. So the larger the client, the bigger their budgets, the more sophistication, the more likely they're going to want to work with what we call best of breed, not generalist firms. So the very worst place to be on this chart, I think, is right in the middle. Middle of the road, you get hit by traffic going in both directions. That's really the absence of a strategy if you try to play right to the middle. So how do we construct an effective strategy? What is the mental construct, the framework that would be useful for us to form and formulate and articulate a strategy for our business? Well, I'd like to share 4 boundaries of a business strategy. The first you can think of simply as what? This is defining the problems we solve for our clients, our competencies, the services and capabilities that reside in the firm. The second answers the question who. Who is our customer? Peter Drucker, the management theorist, famously said, marketing starts with the question, who is your customer? It starts there. And the answer can't be everybody. It's got to be a certain type of customer, a certain type of client or prospect in which we're excellent. So that's the markets we serve. The third of these 4 boundaries I call way. So this is how we approach working with our clients. Our methodologies, our philosophies, our approaches, the unique ways that we serve or interface with our clients. And there are lots of interesting examples of that I'm going to share with you on all 4 of these. The last I call why, and this is probably the most difficult of the 4, but this is answering the question, why are we in business in the first place? What purpose do we aspire to? And that one is a deep soul-searching question. We find that the most effective strategies have a very well-defined, concise answer in all 4 of these areas. Typically, I think the first 2 are the most essential, the what and the who. They tend to define your strategy more than anything else, but they're complemented by the last 2, by the way and the why. So let's take these one at a time and look at how we might bring more definition to them and also look at some examples. So the question of what is really around not just our services and the famous bullet point list of services we see on most websites and most firms. It's really to look at it through the lens of what Clayton Christensen, he's the person who coined the term disruptive innovation. If you're familiar with that, disruptive innovation, that's Clayton Christensen. He says what we do in business needs to be looked through the lens of jobs to be done. He says every client, every business has a specific job to be done, and that's a problem to be solved, and we then meet that with an offering. The mistake we make when we go to market is we just focus on the offering. We just list the offering. We just list the service. We just list the capability. We don't step back and frame it as a problem to be solved. And this is a powerful way to make what you do seem more valuable. I want to show you a video I think you'll enjoy that shows how McDonald's, going way back to the 1950s, these are the McDonald's brothers. They were an actual pair of, maybe you've seen the movie, it's a clip from the film about Ray Kroc, the life of Ray Kroc, who went on to found the modern McDonald's. But Ray Kroc, who wants to buy this concept, is sitting down at a dinner conversation with the 2 original McDonald's brothers, and they're explaining to him how they went about solving a problem, which was delivering good, consistent, quality food fast.
And you were going to love how we did it, Dick? You got to tell him.
Tennis court?
Okay. He brings me up to this tennis court, and he's drawn this line, the exact dimensions of our kitchen.
Sink on the right, extruder on the left.
Extruder. Bagging and hood.
Bush. Okay.
Garnish. This is burger finish.
Got it.
And then this is burger slide. We could just move those.
Okay.
Multi-mixer soft drinks.
Okay. We bring out our whole staff and we have them go through the motions making pretend burgers and fries.
All right, Steve, anticipate that. You gotta keep the tray level. Okay.
And Dick is running around with this stick marking where all the equipment should be.
Tuck in. Tony, are you gonna skip the pickles when we're really doing it?
They do it over and over, hashing it out, choreographing it like some crazy burger ballet.
What's going on over there?
Yes. No. Everybody stop! Stop! Garnish 1. Garnish 2. You've got pickles, you've got onions. It's a goddamn hamburger.
Come on, clear off.
Let's clear it off. It's time for the pink chalk. And then rip your orange. See all this open space here now? We've rearranged the fry situation, so now it's stage left, the deep fryer stage right. Begin. That's great. Come on, guys.
They're pretty tied up here.
Yeah, watch
Down
it.
the Lazy Susan.
It's the timing of the Lazy Susan. Those are finished burgers. You can't... Hold it. I still think there's a third version.
What do you want to move?
I want to move everything. Back to stage left, please. I think we got it all drawn. This is better.
Is that all right?
I think so. I guess let's assume our battle station.
Okay.
Finally, after about 6 hours of this, we get it just right. It's a symphony of efficiency, not a wasted motion. Good form, Jasper. Feel good about those pickles. Catch up. Use your Lazy Susan. Put your back into it, Seth. And pickles and pickle and mustard. We take the layout to a builder, custom build the kitchen to our exact specs.
Ta-da! The Speed D system is born, the world's first ever system to deliver food fast. It is totally revolutionary.
There you go, the birth of fast food. Designed to solve a problem. So when we put up a list like this, really, we've got to step back and realize we can be good at something, but we can't be good at everything. We can be good at something, but not everything, not all this. The Harvard Business School professor Ted Levitt used to famously teach his students, no one buys a 3/4 inch drill. We buy the expectation of a 3/4 inch hole. We want the hole, right? We need the drill to get the hole, but we want the hole. And this is a really important question to think about in terms of how you frame what you do as a firm. Are you selling drills? Are you selling the hole? Are you selling the means or the end? Are you selling the services or the problems that you solve? Because I submit that most websites, and I don't mean to pick on these particular firms, this could have been any firm at random, 90% of websites that I visit would have a section called services, and we see the bullet point list of what is that? Those are drills, right? That is not a description of the problems we solve, that we solve for our clients. The way to get to that is to go through an exercise like this in which we go client by client and we think about what are the business problems we solve for these clients, what specific outcomes do they seek, and therefore what services, competencies, capabilities are needed to deliver it. That's the right order of magnitude to think about what you do, and that's how what you do ought to be framed on your websites and in new business presentations and your marketing materials. There's a good example from outside professional services, but really inspirational. This is the American company Bausch & Lomb, who for their first 100 years saw themselves as being in the lens business, optics. They made eyeglasses and contact lenses and lenses for microscopes and telescopes, and they were in the optics business. Well, what is that? That's a drill. When they step back and define their business as a whole, in other words, what problem do we solve, it completely revolutionized and recharged their business, because the answer to that question is, we're in the sight business. We help people see better. And that led to lots of innovation beyond lenses. They sell a line of vitamins that improve your eyesight, for example. So when I talk about strategy being choices and more about subtraction than addition, it's not to say that there can't be some innovation and some complementary products and services and offerings that revolve around your core competencies. But they have to ladder up to a common definition of the types of problems that you solve for your clients. So let's look at some examples from firms of positioning strategies that are anchored in this idea of what the problems we solve. So if you're insurance law specialist, that is a definition around a what. You're driven by primarily a service offering. Intellectual property is another example. Delivering law in a different way. Online legal services is an example of a strategy driven by a what. This is a fascinating example when I first saw it. This was actually first drawn up by Walt Disney himself, the chart I have on the screen. And it was his first attempt at trying to define the core competencies of the Walt Disney Company. As you can see right in the center, creative talent of the studio and theatrical films. In other words, Walt Disney Pictures, the films themselves, is their core competency. But from that came Disneyland and the theme parks and some television programs and the music that you see in the films and publications and magazines and merchandise, all of which is a self-reinforcing complementary system of products and services that all kind of ladder back to the same thing, right? There are quite a few things there that the Walt Disney Company does, but they're all related and they all complement one another. This is a famous example of a self-reinforcing ecosystem. So Apple products by themselves are pretty outstanding. You might have one of each of these. I certainly do. And by themselves, these products are best in class, but they also live in an ecosystem, don't they? The Mac works with the iPhone, which works with the iPad, which talks to your iWatch, which uses iTunes, and this is the kind of integration. When we talk about integration in our firms, this is the best-in-class version of integration, because it's an ecosystem in which all of these competencies are interrelated, right? One makes the other better. Nike does the same thing. They started with shoes and apparel and equipment, but they've got the Nike Fuel Band that you can wear, the sports watch, the Nike Plus app, and all of these things together. The shoes talk to the Fuel Band, which talks to the app and helps make you a better runner. This is a self-reinforcing ecosystem of competencies and capabilities. And this is what we want to strive to develop in our firms, is an ecosystem of competencies that are self-reinforcing. So, essential questions about how you're defining your what. What are you clear about the primary way your firm creates value, the problems you solve for your clients? Can you articulate a small number of capabilities that you can do better than other firms? And importantly, as we just talked about, have you defined how they work together in a system? Okay, let's move on to the next boundary, which we call who. And again, this is about the markets we serve, the kinds of clients and sectors that we serve. And some examples here, just a few examples of firms that have aligned themselves primarily behind who as their positioning strategy. So the technology sector, if you're, this firm would be just mostly serving technology firms, so claiming expertise in a sector or industry category. Media arts as a sector, as a category. And you would offer lots of different services, but you would be focused on a particular type of customer, so that you're building that ecosystem of expertise around a type of customer. Same with criminal law. You're defending people who've been convicted of crimes. Way. So this one is a little less foundational in the sense that it's more difficult to build your entire strategy around way. It's usually a complement to either a what or a who, but it can be very interesting and very powerful. And there's a lot of innovation here. There's a theme that you've heard about several times, I think, if you've been to these conferences before, of firms doing what I'm about to show, but this is Steve Brown, a partner in Lynn & Brown in Perth.
Hello, my name's Stephen Brown. I'm a legal practice director at Lynn & Brown Lawyers. So I've been a lawyer for 22 years, and over that period of time I've dealt with a lot of matters where clients have experienced difficulties with legal fees, and we noticed many years ago that that's one of the main problems that clients have in interfacing with law firms is the costs involved. We believed one of the ways around this was to be transparent and upfront about that pricing. So we'll give the client a fixed fee in advance, and we provide a guarantee that we will never charge the client a fee unless they've pre-agreed to that, so they'll never receive a bill that they don't expect to receive in advance.
We have an initial appointment with our clients, and during that initial appointment we pay particular attention to our clients' needs and what their desired outcome is. And then we work together with the client to put together a strategy as to how we're going to deal with their matter, and we have a number of options in that strategy. Every single option has a fixed price attached to it. So all of our clients have the certainty and clarity of knowing exactly what price they are going to pay for the work that they're going to get.
A lot of times clients will experience with a law firm that they'll go off and they'll work a solution for the matter, and at the end of the month they'll be really surprised with how much they've had to pay. That would never happen with a client of Lynn & Brown because they'll know every bill they're going to receive before they receive it.
Okay, there's been a lot of innovation in this area. I imagine some of you here today work this way, the idea of a fixed price, no surprises, not just adding up your time and sending the client a bill. Lots of examples here in Australia and all around the world of this, as I'm sure you know. All examples of fixed pricing or modern pricing that transcends billing by the hour. Another version of way would be the idea of lawyers on demand, or how you access legal counsel and legal help, and the many different platforms that we now see in this area. This is from a marketing firm. This is Siegel & Gale. They're a big brand development firm based in San Francisco. But they've got a differentiating way, method, approach that is centered around the idea of simplicity. They've created the Simplicity Index, which they study brands all around the world and rate them based on, give them a rating in terms of where they fit in the Simplicity Index, arguing that the more simple, the more powerful, the more profitable the company. And this is a really useful marketing tool for this firm. This is an architectural firm, Gensler, probably the biggest architectural firm in the world, based out of California. They have a similar idea where everything they do is based around what they call this experience index of how we experience space when we walk into a building, and that is a valuable marketing tool for them and very differentiating for them in terms of how they stack up against their competitors. There are lots of different ways to think about how you can be differentiated in this area, your methodologies and approaches and philosophies, how you solve, how you produce, how you collaborate, deliver, serve, price, we just talked about, manage, how you look, how you promote. These are, every little bit of differentiation counts. And the more of it, the better. The more places you can look and say, we could be different here, the better, because it all adds up to you standing out in the marketplace. Let's look at this last boundary, which, as I said, is maybe the most difficult because it digs deep into the psyche of the business and asks the question, beyond making money, why do we exist? And I like this quote that illustrates what we don't mean from Scott Anthony. Increasing firm revenues from 30.2 to 30.7 million might be a useful target, but it's not a motivating purpose, right? When we get up and talk about the financial objectives of the firm, thinking that's going to be motivating, that everybody wants to make more money, sure, but it's not really why any of us do what we do. I mean, if you look deep in what really motivates us, it's something that goes deeper than that. And so some firms have thought long and hard about this, and some have built their business strategy around it, as in Maurice Blackburn and the idea that fairness is a universal right. We fight for fair. And I know that a lot of you have also thought about this question. Some of you talk about it on your websites. The vast majority of best performing companies have explicit, non-negotiable principles that are understood and followed across the organization. Explicit, non-negotiable, meaning these are the guidelines, the guideposts that guide our business decisions, and they're in effect the lines we draw in the sand. It's your statement of purpose, the reason you get up in the morning. It's a credo. If you're in the military, you know this term, rules of engagement. When do we engage? When do we not engage? So it's very essential supporting part of your business strategy. So how do we put all this together, and what process is useful to help define the answers to these 4 boundaries? What we're really trying to do is answer these 4 questions in a short and simple way. For this type of client, we solve this kind of problem by applying this kind of methodology because we believe in this purpose. So easy to say, hard to fill the blanks, right? Hard to fill those blanks in a differentiating, memorable way. But here's an example. For technology and life science companies, we help protect their intellectual property and financial future by coupling deep industry expertise with state-of-the-art project management, because we believe in the power of technology to transform the world. That's a pretty good positioning strategy for a law firm, and if you work for that kind of a firm, you'd know what you're supposed to do when you go to work every morning. This can also be put into, as I said, one side of one sheet of paper. We call this a positioning brief, so you're certainly familiar with briefs in your business. This is a marketing version of a brief, a positioning brief, which articulates the key dimensions of your strategy. It can be part of your business plan. It should guide your business plan. It's probably the first page in a business plan. But notice it's not a list of goals and key initiatives. It's a statement of what you've chosen to do and not to do, the markets you'll serve and those that you won't. You can tell your strategy as a story. I think this is particularly interesting. We hear a lot of talk these days in the marketing space about brand stories. So once upon a time there was, insert your client or prospect every day, he or she, the problem they're trying to solve. One day we developed the solution to their problem, until finally everyone lived happily ever after. Your company is a story. This actually can serve you really well, because in your marketing materials, you're essentially telling a story about your firm, aren't you? It should be based on your positioning strategy. So a few tools and some thought starters that can help you pare this down and make some decisions. What we want to do initially in developing or redeveloping or reimagining our strategy, we want to involve a lot of stakeholders in the firm, not everyone. It's not a democratic process. It's co-creation, but it's not consensus. We want key decision makers who are going to contribute thoughts. So we're we're ideating, we're diverging, but then we want to then narrow that down, pare that down, make some decisions, because again, what we're trying to do here is more about subtraction than addition. Applying filters like this. This is the idea that there are a lot of things that the principals of your firms find interesting, and there are things of which we have or may not have expertise. So this examines both of those two questions in the sense of what do we do that is high interest and high expertise. That's a home run. That's a winner right there, because those are things we're motivated to do and we're already good at. There might be some things where we've got high interest but low expertise. That we need to think about. Or things that we have high, or the inverse. I mean, there are four different combinations here. But we want to think through this because we've got to have partners and principals that are on board in their interest in what we're doing. It's also important to try and balance what we call authenticity and aspiration. We want to do things that are authentic in the sense that we can achieve them, they're doable, it's something that we could execute. But we also want to stretch a little bit. We want to stretch a little bit because that's motivating. If we can err on either side too much. If we're too authentic, then it's not very interesting. It's kind of, yeah, yes, we can do that, and it's a little bit more of the same. Doesn't make a stretch. On the other hand, if it's too aspirational, then it's not attainable. I find that most firms err on that side, that we're trying to map out a strategic direction that is so aspirational that it's really hard to ever get there. So you want to make sure you think through the balance of those two dynamics. A good strategy is exceptionally useful in client selection, because once we have answers to these four questions which we just talked about today, we know what that sweet spot is, don't we? The prospects that are A, they want all four of what we have chosen to define as our strategy. That's a perfect fit for us. Clients and prospects might only want 3 of those areas. Those are B prospects. C prospects want a couple. D, or no, we're not going to pursue D prospects anymore. We're going to actively pursue A's and B's. We might take a C if they come to us on a silver platter. We wouldn't put a lot of effort behind it. And D's, we're just not going to be distracted by D prospects. How do we know we've got a good strategy? Here's a really interesting set of questions to help us test that. First, does it allow for clear identification of target prospects? In other words, does it help us know who's a prospect and who isn't, just like we looked at on that chart? Does it help us say no to the wrong prospects? Because remember, we're trying to be deliberate about what we do and what we don't do. Does it help expand our geographical footprint? That's an interesting question. I'm going to show you an example of that here just in a moment. Does it create strong barriers to entry, meaning would it be hard for other firms to copy what we're doing? Would it be difficult for another firm to do and say what we're saying? Does it result in fewer competitors? Meaning the more focused we are, the fewer competitors we have. There are fewer firms that are doing exactly what we do, or there might not be any firms doing exactly what we do. Does it allow us to charge higher fees? In other words, by being focused, it allows us to attach a premium to what we do. We're not seen as much as a commoditized service. Does it make our business development cycle shorter and less expensive, so that we're playing in a game that we're favored to win? And then comes the fun part, which is bringing your strategy to life in all the dimensions and business practices of your firm. And we identify 5 areas in which a strategy must be brought to life for it to really come to fruition. The first we call services. second is staff, third is self-promotion, fourth is systems, and finally staging. I'd like to show you an example of this, but it's through the lens of not a law firm, but a marketing firm that I first met in 2010. They have it's about a 120 person firm in Charlotte, North Carolina, who, by the way, just coming through Hurricane Florence, I think. They've had a little flooding in their area, but I think they came out okay. But this is a very talented firm when I first met them, and great reputation, great quality work product, but kind of unfocused in the sense that you'd read their descriptions of themselves and their strategy, and it was, full service, wide range of competencies, wide range of clients. So that's not a strategy, right? That's the absence of a strategy. When we got their brain trust, their leadership team together to think through these four boundaries that we've just talked about, there's a very strong pattern that emerged. And if you haven't been through this experience, this will happen to you, because what you're looking for are patterns. It turns out that most of the clients that this firm serves can be found in the home. You probably can't see this from where you are, but these are logos of companies like tile manufacturers and windows and carpeting and wall coverings and furniture. Wow, those are all inside a house, are they? Well, that kind of points to a direction as a positioning strategy. A marketing innovation firm that specializes in brands that elevate the style, comfort, and function of the American home. Single sentence, there's their elevator pitch. Elevate the style, comfort, and function of the American home. So how did that then get brought to life in these 5 areas inside their firm? First, services. They retooled literally all of their competencies around this positioning strategy, where they could clearly be seen as expert in this category. They sponsored their own research studies that showed important trends that they could share with their clients and prospects. And of course, since they're a marketing firm, brand development firm, obviously their work is going to reflect that as well. Staff development, talent management. How does your positioning strategy affect how you hire, train, and develop your people? Well, for starters, they gave everybody new titles and new business cards. We restructured how the firm was organized, that was more complementary to delivering their strategy, a much simpler structure. Their employees were involved in causes that are all related to, in some way, to the home. So volunteering to build low-cost housing for low-income individuals, things like that. So it really tied into their sense of purpose as well. In self-promotion, this is an obvious one. It's got to be reflected on your website and in your promotional materials, and this being a marketing firm, they do a pretty nice job of this kind of thing. So that was a whole new initiative to recreate their marketing materials. Thought leadership program, where they would speak at conferences. They're out recognized as experts, writing white papers and blogs, and using their intellectual capital to get credit as experts in this space. Systems, even in your internal systems and processes, this can have an impact. They ended up simplifying and retooling their internal process, their project management workflow process, in a way that's more supportive of the new strategic direction. And staging, by which we mean your physical place of business, offices, your work environment, and the resources. This one they had some fun with. They renamed all of their meeting rooms: the study, the garage, the den, the sunroom, all places you'd find inside a home, so that client visitors really clearly got the message, wow, this really is a business that knows my business. It had a remarkable impact on their business. When when we first met them, they did have a large percent, 36% of their business was in this sector. And that's how we kind of arrived at this strategy. But 5 years later, it was 73. And I'm told in a recent conversation with them, it's close to 90 now. They're very, very focused on what they're doing. They were originally just here in North Carolina. There's a little star there, that's Charlotte, and their clients were mostly all in driving distance of their office. Their client base now stretches up to Illinois and Ohio and Indiana and Texas and Florida and New York. As I said, the tighter your focus, the broader your geographical footprint, because when what you do is scarce and hard to find and highly valued, your clients and prospects are willing to travel thousands of miles to do business with you. If you're just yet another generalist firm that does what most other firms do, they're going to hire somebody across the street or in town. Why would you get on an airplane for that? You can find that everywhere, but you can't find scarce expertise everywhere. So this is an important benefit of a focused strategy. And their business performance, they've been very happy with this influx of new talent, lots of new clients, income up, profit margins up substantially, and it's continuing in that direction. So the idea here is that what we're trying to do with strategy, we're trying to deal with the complexities of the external market by simplifying the complexities of our internal business model. By simplifying our business model, we become better at fewer things. And therefore, we are able to solve in a better way, in a more expert way, problems for our clients, because we're very good at a few things rather than average at a lot of things. So if you've seen the movie The Matrix, one of my all-time favorite movies, the most mind-bending movie still that I think I've ever seen, there's a scene that I think is particularly relevant to what we're talking about today. This is Neo, the star of the film, walking in to have a conversation, and he's offered a choice.
At last. Welcome, Neo. As you no doubt have guessed, I am Morpheus.
It's an honor to meet you.
No. The honor is mine. Please, come, sit. I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
So Neo takes the red pill, chooses not to be trapped in a world of illusion, but to see reality for what it really is. Morpheus says, I'm just offering you the truth. That's what I've been trying to do in our time together this afternoon, to face the reality of our business situation and come out from under the illusion that by claiming to be all things to all people, that somehow that's going to make us more attractive to a broader audience. It has the exact opposite impact and effect. I'd like you to take the red pill and come face to face with the realities of the potential of your firm, which is actually a heck of a lot of fun. Strategy making, I think, is the most interesting thing we do in business. And I'll just close with this quote, which illustrates, I think, what we're talking about, and that is that the goal here isn't just to be better than the competition, but different from the competition. We want to be good, we want to be better, we always want to continually improve. It's even more important to be different.